Aniham, indifferent. Harim, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ishwaram, the Lord. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The four principles of advancement in spiritual life, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, all depend on the disposition of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, my dear friends, follow in the footsteps of devotees without desire, fully depend upon the disposition of the Supreme Lord, worship Him, the Super Soul, in devotional service. Purport. These are words of intelligence. Everyone should know that in every stage of life, we are dependent upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the dharma, religion, which we accept should be that which is recommended by Prahlad Maharaj, Bhagavata Dharma. This is the instruction of Krishna. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. To take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna means to act according to the rules and regulations of Bhagavata Dharma, devotional service. As far as economic development is concerned, we should discharge our occupational duties, but fully depend on the lotus feet of the Lord for the results. Karbani evadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. According to one's position, one should perform his duties, but for the results, one should fully depend upon Krishna. Narottam Das Thakur sings that our only desire should be to perform the duties of Krishna consciousness. We should not be misled by the Karma Mimamsa philosophy, which concludes that if we work seriously, the results will come automatically. This is not a fact. The ultimate result depends upon the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In devotional service, therefore, the devotee completely depends upon the Lord and honestly performs his occupational duties. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj advised his friends to depend completely on Krishna and worship Him in devotional service. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to Canto 7, Chapter 7, in the matter of what Prahlad learned in the womb, text 48. Umagyanatimirandasya gyananjana shlakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya manobishtham stapitam yena bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swamaniti Namine Nama Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayine Gaurakatha Damadaya Nagragramatharine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Gopi Paranadhanadase Iti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamaniti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim Yatkripatamaham bande Shri Gurudinatharinam Yatkripatamaham bande Paramanandamadhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Katanchana smrite yasmin dushkaram sukaram bhave Vismrite viparitam syat Sri Chaitanyam namamitam. So, this is, as Srila Prabhupada says, these are words of intelligence. So, this purport teaches us how to do things intelligently. These verses, these purports, they teach us how to act intelligently. And Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita, he refers to this as Buddhi Yoga, to act intelligently. Now, we may think it says here that our only desire should be to perform the duties of Krishna consciousness. Our only desire should be to perform the duties of Krishna consciousness. When we hear something like this, it is possible that we may become sometimes confused. What does it mean? I should perform, our desire should be to our only desire should be to perform the duties of Krishna consciousness. Because we are engaged in various kinds of activities based on various kinds of desires, both from the present life and from the past life. So it says here, our only desire should be the desire to perform the duties of Krishna consciousness. So what about other desires that we may have? So what happens is that when devotees join the Krishna consciousness movement, there is a certain attraction due to the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. This morning I was hearing a lecture by Srila Prabhupada where he mentions that our process is very simple. Just keep a picture of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. Just keep that picture and simply chant and dance. That's it. And he says this is our process. Simply keep a picture of Lord Chaitanya and his associates and chant and dance. What an easy process. Then, is that all? Then we begin to wonder, oh, here we are reading, our only desire should be to perform the duties of Krishna consciousness. So can we be just chanting and dancing 24 hours? We can be, but we are not at that stage of advancement. Vakreshwar Pandit could do, but we are not. Vakreshwar Pandit is a great associate of Lord Chaitanya, a great dancer. He could do that, but could we do it? So then we think we should be practical. That word is quite often used. We should be practical. So then what happens is that let me practice Krishna consciousness for some time in the day, and the remaining part of the day, let me be practical. So that creates a kind of confusion in the mind, because our idea of practical is based on what desires we have in this life and what desires we have had in the past lives. So, but then we read Bhagavatam, and when we read Bhagavad Gita, we are also taught to read Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam every day. So when we read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, what does it say? Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam, the four miseries of human life, birth, death, old age, disease. So on the one hand, we're trying to practice Krishna consciousness for some part of the day, and remaining part of the day, we think we should be practical. But when we read the Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, then that idea gets punctured. So then what happens is that devotees slowly over time, because they don't have a clear understanding of what's going on, they become depressed. Maybe I should have pursued a different kind of life. At least I was enthusiastic before. But after coming to Krishna consciousness, I'm enthusiastic for a certain time, but then the rest of it is all depression. Because look at this worldview. The worldview that is given by the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam is all very fatalistic, so to speak. There's no question of they're not giving you any scope to enjoy. So naturally, one becomes very discouraged. So this is something that we need to understand very carefully. What exactly is going on? What have we understood wrong? I'm not saying each one of us here have understood wrong. There are people who in this room who have understood it correctly. But this is sometimes not understood, not sometimes, often not understood properly. So, what the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita are trying to do, they are not trying to say that you cannot be happy throughout the day in a practical sense. You can be happy throughout the day in a practical sense, not theoretical sense, practical sense. That's why philosophy is meant for living and life is meant for preaching. So the entire aspect of our philosophy can be lived in a very practical manner without getting discouraged or depressed. So how do we live the philosophy in a practical manner? Because what happens is initially when we take to Krishna consciousness, very enthusiastic. We've got experience of the taste of Krishna consciousness. Then we start preaching the philosophy also to others. But after some time when we realize that our life is also getting messed up in different ways, and what is this, I had this desire, but that desire, but when we read, it's all those desires are getting punctured. I mean, at least we're not allowed to pursue that. Then what happens? We use philosophy only for preaching. Okay, and then our life, we have a different understanding of life. We try to make it practical. All kinds of gymnastics, circus we try to do. So the point is that we need to understand that Bhagavad Gita is the manual of life. Srimad Bhagavatam is the example of the great devotees. So they are trying to teach us what is practical. It is not meant only for the great exalted souls. If it was meant only for the great exalted souls, they wouldn't be teaching it for all of us. For the six Goswamis, if you Srinivas Acharya in their glorification, he says, Bhutva Dina Ganeshakau Karunaya. Bhutva Dina Ganeshakau. Dina Ganeshakau means those masses of people who are distressed. For them, these Goswamis, Bhutva Dina Ganeshakau Karunaya, Kaupina Kantashnato. So they took up the role of mendicants for the sake of the masses in general. Dina, Ganesha, Dina means distress. Ganeshako, Karunaya, out of their mercy for the conditioned souls who are distressed, they have taken up the life of a mendicant. Which means, and what did they do in the taking of? They gave us all the literatures. So the literatures are meant for us. Those of us who are here in this world, who are distressed, who have lost an idea of how to lead a proper life. So, when we understand Krishna consciousness properly, then we know that actually philosophy is meant for living. It's not just meant for preaching. Philosophy is meant for living, and life is meant for preaching. So others can take up to Krishna consciousnness by seeing our lives. But if we are depressed half the time, and half the time we are engaged in some Krishna consciousness, who will be attracted? They'll think that this is some kind of strange life, some double life that devotees are leading. So, Prahlad Maharaj says that when you decorate yourself and stand in front of a mirror, I think the ladies can relate to this example better than men. But nevertheless, it's a relevant example. If you decorate yourself and stand in front of a mirror, the image in the mirror is automatically decorated. You do not have to attempt to decorate the image in the mirror separately. So Prahlad Maharaj says that when you try to render service to Krishna, you will feel very happy and satisfied. But then we still have to live with the philosophy that this world is a place of misery, this, that. It's also a lot of depressing news is also there, right? But who is that meant for? That depressing news is meant for those who are trying to enjoy independent of Krishna. That is the point. So if we are trying to enjoy independent of Krishna, then you have all these injunctions, So when you have all these injunctions, then you become depressed. Oh, I'm trying to enjoy, but look at this. So if this, with this vision, how can I enjoy? So sometimes devotees say, okay, forget this Krishna consciousness. Let me just go and enjoy, And devotees have done that also. It's not that it's rare. People have left Krishna consciousness because after some time, they're not able to cope with the whole aspect of Krishna consciousness. So what the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam are teaching is, if you look at the world from the point of view of your enjoyment, then please be conscious of this. This is what is going to happen. Your plans, your desires for enjoyment are going to get frustrated. So misery is coming. So that is the warning that the Bhagavatam gives and the Bhagavad Gita gives. But if we change our way of looking at the world, which is what the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam are teaching. So what is the peace formula? The peace formula is that Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam. Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer. Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. He is the proprietor of all the worlds. Suhurdam Sarva Bhutanam. He is the best friend of all the living entities. Gyatva Mam Shanti Richati. Those who know this can lead a peaceful life. So, the Bhagavad Gita is trying to teach us a different way of looking at the world. The same world can produce misery if you look at it in one way, and the same world can produce happiness if you look at it in a different way. Therefore, Prabhupada says that electricity can be used for heating or cooling. The same electricity, if you use it for cooling, it's of a certain type. If you use it for heating, it's of a different type. That's all. But it's the same electricity. So like the same material world can produce happiness, it can produce distress also. So the Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam are teaching us both. This is how the material energy is. If you use it for your own sense gratification, it will produce distress. If you use it for serving Krishna, it will produce happiness. So we have to just think, how shall I connect all the activities that I do in a day for Krishna's service? So sometimes the activity itself may not be directly Krishna conscious. So, for example, suppose you are working at some car manufacturing thing. What has that got to do with serving Krishna directly? But the point is that why are you doing that car manufacturing? Generally, for a moment, think that you are not Krishna conscious. Okay. So then what happens? Why is somebody doing the work that they are doing? Because they need to get the money with which they can enjoy and which they can maintain the family. So when people are leading ordinary lives, right, there is no dichotomy, people are not thinking, oh, I have to get money and maintain my family, but what am I doing with car manufacturing? Are we thinking like that? Is anybody thinking like that? No. For them, the car manufacturing is intrinsically related to money and maintaining the family. They're not thinking of it as two separate things. It's not that Karmi thinks, oh, I'm spending all this time in car manufacturing. What is this? That has got nothing to do with maintaining my family and the money. No. It is directly, intrinsically linked. And Prabhupada gives the example, not the car manufacturing, but Prabhupada gives the example of the work. So in ordinary life, people think, it's harmonious. Just for them, what is it? Maintaining the family, earning money means also doing the work. So the work they don't see as distinct from that activity of maintaining the family and earning money. So Prabhupada explains the same thing applies in Krishna consciousness. So what happens? I'm earning money, right? So what should I do with the money? That's very important. So Prabhupada teaches how to engage the money in the Krishna service. And you're trying to maintain the family, right? Yes. Maintain the family, try to make the members Krishna conscious. So if you do that, then the work that you're doing is not separate from Krishna consciousness. So this is the concept that Srila Prabhupada teaches us. Something very practical. He says just change your vision. That's all. That's why Prabhupada and all the Acharyas teachers, you just have to add Krishna. We have the conversation between Ramananda Roy and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Roy, tell me what is the highest goal of life. So Ramananda Roy tells about different things, Sarva Dharman, Pariteja. Lord Chaitanya rejects that. Yat Karoshi, Yat Lord Chaitanya rejects that. He goes on rejecting different things. Finally, what does Lord Chaitanya accept? Brahma's prayer in the Bhagavatam, where Sthane, where the verse goes like this. I think all of you know this. Sthane sita shutigatam tanuman manobhir sanmukharitham bhavadiya varta. Sthane stitha shutigatam tanuman manobhir. Sthane stitha means in whatever position that one is situated, one engages one's activities in the service of the Lord. Sanmukharitham bhavadiya varta. While constantly engaged in hearing the glorification of the Lord. So this is the verdict of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is the highest authority. He is the highest Vedic authority. This is his opinion. This is the highest thing. The conclusion of all Vedic scriptures is this. Stay wherever you are. Engage your body and mind in the service of the Lord, while constantly Sanmukharitam Bhavadiya Bharta, constantly hearing the messages of Krishna from the great souls. So Srila Prabhupada gave us the books, instituted the classes. So this constant hearing is there. So if we can do this, then our lives can become perfect. Because thinking leads to feeling, feeling leads to willing. So if we can get our thinking right while performing our activities, so then our life can become perfect. Performing the activities alone is not enough. One has to get one's thinking right. Therefore, Sanmukharidam Bhavadiya Varta. It is not just for getting the thinking right that we hear from the great souls. It is also to purify our hearts. It's not just that, okay, because these books are not books of some information. This is Krishna in every page of the Bhagavatam. Krishna along with his associates, Prabhupada and the previous Acharyas. Prabhupada has weaved the previous Acharyas' teachings into his purports. So we are associating with Krishna and his associates when we hear Bhagavatam. So it purifies our heart. And this is a feature of the samvit potency of the Lord, which means it's not just some, like you have an ordinary book on medical science, just some information. But this is not just some information. This is the potency of the Lord, the samvit potency of the Lord, manifest for us to purify our hearts. So, if we do these two things, which is that we hear constantly and we work in accordance with what we hear. So in that sense, there is nothing in this world which is separate from Krishna. Of course, it does not. There are prohibited activities which are sinful activities. So we avoid the prohibited activities. So the scripture says these activities are going to produce trouble. So if you want to be happy how to act, then there is a certain way of acting. And that acting is going to produce happiness. And that acting is very practical. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us a very practical process. So the Acharyas talk about making this world into Vaikunta. Why? How? Vasudeva Kutumbakam. By making the whole world Krishna conscious. Then this place can become Vaikunta. Doesn't mean that this world will stop getting destroyed or our bodies will stop getting destroyed. But the state of consciousness, the state of existence can become spiritual. So, just like, suppose I don't know if it rained here, but I was in Chennai and it was raining for last week, most of it was raining. So, it is not that when we devotees go out in the rain, we will not get wet. Only the karmis will get wet. That is not the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. But what is it teaching? It is teaching that just like the rain, the different circumstances will come in our lives. But we have one difference. The karmis, they have to get wet in the rain. But we have the umbrella of Krishna's mercy. This is the point. That is the difference between being Krishna conscious and not being Krishna conscious. We have to also face the storm, everything will come. But we have the umbrella of Krishna's mercy. So, to conclude, we have a very glorious philosophy. And Prabhupada, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lochandas Thakur sings, Parama Karuna Pahudai Jana Nitai Gaura Chandra. They are the most merciful lords. And what is their process? Kevala Ananda Kanda. Just Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give us a process which is Kevala Ananda. So if we are not experiencing Kevala Ananda, of course, there's a difference of intensity of Ananda. Okay, I'm not talking about intensity, but at least we should be happy. Prabhupada said, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. So at least a basic level of happiness we should have. And if we are missing out on that, then we should rethink what is it that we are doing it, not doing right, due to which we don't feel a sense of happiness. Where are we still in anxiety? We need to examine our state of consciousness. And when we examine our state of consciousness, we'll often find it is due to this desire to enjoy for oneself. If one turns it, just like Prahlad Maharaj says, just try to serve Krishna. And it is not that one tries to serve Krishna, something is lost. No. What Krishna knows exactly what desires you have, what limitations you have. He knows everything about us. He knows. That's why he's called Suhurdam Sarva Bhutanam. Generally when we are in difficulty, what do? We go and ask a friend, hey, I'm going through this. What do you think about it? So why do we do that? Simply because we know that a well-wishing friend may tell us something, how to handle things, right? So Krishna, he says, I am the most well-wishing friend. And he's not even like a material friend who can sometimes fail. Means if you go to a material friend, he may give a genuine advice, but it may not be perfect. It may not work. But Krishna is not like that. He is infallible. He is Achyuta. Infallible. His ideas, his thoughts will never fail. So We have a friend like that. So the point is, and he's the closest to us than anybody else. Right now, he's sitting in my heart. Closest person is him. Everybody else is sitting at a distance. Similarly, for each of you, the closest person is God, is Krishna. So Krishna, he knows exactly being situated in our heart. He exactly knows what our desires are, what our thoughts are, and all that. And he has a solution for it. This is the fact. This is a fact. He has a solution for all of it. And he's orchestrating it. He's saying, you don't worry about these things. You think about how to perform your devotional service nicely. I'll take care of these things. So he can minutely control our lives. Control means in a positive sense. I'm not talking in a negative. He can orchestrate everything. He can fine-tune our lives. So we should have that conviction. That conviction comes when we read Srila Prabhupada's books. That Krishna is actually the well-wisher. He can fine-tune. But the moment we are not willing to accept it, that's when we become confused, Then we think, okay, I'm in a difficult situation now. What shall I do? Or, I'm just trying to go and serve the Lord. But look at what has happened. This problem happened. My car got spoiled today while going to serve the Lord. What should I do now? So many things can go wrong. But we sometimes, like even Bhishma Dev says, that no one can understand the plan of the Lord. We don't know what the plan of the Lord is. But at least we should accept it as the plan of the Lord. While it happens, it may be a little bit, we may get disoriented or wobble, we may wobble. But if we just have the faith, then Krishna will reveal. I just want to relate one incident. I was just coming to, I was with Guru Maharaj for almost the last 1 month. And I was coming to Bangalore the day before yesterday. And because it was all last minute plans, I couldn't get train tickets and all that. So somehow the flights were very cheap. So I booked a flight. And I think all of you know what happened in the last few days. I was flying out on Friday. It was the worst day among Indigo flight cancellations. And I remember the previous day night when I met Guru Maharaj and told him I'm going ahead to Bangalore. And all that. And after that, actually at that point in time, Guru Maharaj had just finished his dinner. And he was watching a news clip. And the news clip was all about Indigo flight cancellations. At the end of it, I told Guru Maharaj, tomorrow I have an Indigo flight. Guru Maharaj started laughing. Anyway, so there were no signs of any change in schedule. So he just turned up at the airport. I saw a large crowd at the airport. Still, I was not sure what's going on because the guards were stopping at the entry. But my flight was, I don't know, somehow he allowed. And then I went inside, and sure enough, soon I got to know that the flight is cancelled, and they offered me this thing to change, And so there are different things that are going on. So while that was going on, I was thinking, my God, what's going on here? I was thinking that, okay, I'll come here. I was looking forward to coming here in the morning and all. Everything was planned. And nothing worked according to that. So then I was thinking what is the alternate way of getting here? So due to various constraints that I had. So I was thinking, okay, finally the bus, train, everything was difficult. And so then I thought, okay, let me try to see if I can get a cab. So I asked a friend, and then he got some cab number and all that. So I was calling him and speaking to him in Kannada. And next to me there was a couple, young couple, and who heard me speak in Kannada. He said, "Sir, are you going to Bangalore? Are you thinking of taking a cab?" I said, "Yes." Then he said, "Can both of us join? We'll carpooling we'll do." I said, "Wow, this sounds interesting. Looks like it may be even cheaper than the flight." So then I said, "Why not?" And that's what happened. And they were a young couple from Pune originally, but who live in San Jose. And after we got into the car, they had actually arrived in India exactly when the disturbances began. So they said, we have seen every phase of this disturbance, starting with delays of 4 to 6 hours. They came, and because of that delay, they couldn't attend their visa interview. Then they had to reschedule the visa interview. And all kind, this is like a whole mess, and their flight was to Pune, which got cancelled. So they were planning to come to Bangalore, then catch a bus from here. So that was what is happening. So finally we were in the car, and then he told me all this. It was quite amusing, the kind of experiences that he has had, with all kinds of cancellation, with the whole family, parents-in-law, and it was like from the time they arrived in India. But the most interesting part of the journey was we got here in about 6 hours. Was that during the journey he mentioned to me that he was in a phase of life where he was exploring what is the meaning of life. And so the 6 hours that we spent in the car, the entire time was spent in discussing about Krishna consciousness. Then he came to this temple. We had prasadam together. Then he had darshan of the deities. Both of them very interested. And then they left to Pune. So I was just thinking, well, all this was happening in the car. I mean, where was I? Where were they? And how did we all come together? It all happens by the supreme arrangement of the Lord. So I was telling them this point that I just mentioned now. When the cancellations happened, what is your first reaction? What do we know? Oh no, what happened? But after some time, it begins to settle in. Okay, I was thinking, what is in store? I have no idea. But then when something like this happens, then you begin to see that always, sometimes you may not be able to see immediately, but eventually there is a reason why things happen. And if you accept things as the will of the Lord, then we'll be able to, remain surrendered to the Lord, and the Lord will reveal also why things are happening the way it is happening. Everything that is happening in our lives, there is a reason. If we once we take to the process of devotional service, then once we declare to the Lord, declare means not necessarily the point of initiation, that is a later point. Even before that also, once you declare to the Lord, from this point onwards, Karishye Vachanam Tava. From this point onwards, I've read the Bhagavad Gita. Whatever, less like Arjuna did, I also want to do like that. Even if we have a desire like that, still Krishna will take charge. Even if we have a desire like that. But whether we have reached that stage is a different thing. Let us not think about whether we have reached the stage of full surrender or not. But the desire that I want to follow in the footsteps of Arjuna, I want to follow the instructions of the Lord, then the Lord takes charge. And then, as Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness is a great transcendental adventure. Then you'll see that Krishna consciousness actually becomes a great transcendental adventure, and your life becomes very exciting. We generally say that the Hare Krishna devotees don't watch movies, but I don't know how much of a reality it is these days, because I think, I've seen devotees also watching movies and all kinds of things, But I know back in the day, so it was more difficult to watch a movie unless people go to a movie theater, and that's embarrassing. Nobody would like to go with a tilak into a movie theater, or something. It's embarrassing. So people wouldn't generally do it. But now the movie has come home, not only home in your hand, but the mobile devices and all these kind of things. Now is the time of the real test, So back in the day, when people would ask, you Hare Krishnas don't watch movies? No. Why you don't watch movies? Oh, because our life is more adventurous than watching a movie. Why do we need to watch a movie? Our life is very adventurous. When we have an exciting life like this, then why do we need to watch a movie? I don't know how many devotees actually were internally convinced while saying that, but at least that's how we would say, But it is a fact that now is a time of testing, now that you have access to it. Then Prabhupada says you don't need somebody else to give you a certificate. You can test it yourself. You can test your advancement yourself. So, if we are really experiencing the joy of Krishna consciousness, as Prabhupada says, the great transcendental adventure, then we'll say, no, thanks, I don't want a movie. My life is better than a movie, So, like that, we should have, this is the experience that the Acharyas and Krishna has come to give us. It's not an ordinary experience. It is an amazing, fantastic experience. So if we are missing out on that, we should be conscious of that. Are we missing out on this? We shouldn't be thinking, oh, I'm here for 5 years. Look at this devotee. He's only 4 years, but he's got disposition. Look at them. They're doing this. Oh, this person had only a small car before. He now has a big car, but I haven't got to. If we start looking at devotees and thinking in these terms, then forget about great transcendental adventure. You will find great transcendental misery. Not transcendental, transmental misery. We used to say that, like, it's not transcendental, transmental. So let's realize what exactly we've got. We've got something which is really amazing, really amazing. That Sanatan Goswami, he threw the precious gem into the garbage. So like that, if we realize the value of what we have, if we just experience it, live it, then everything else becomes insignificant. Then we are no more depressed, no more worrying about different things in life. Then life, of course, to come to that stage of constantly being there, it will take time, but at least we'll have enough energy and enthusiasm. As Rupa Goswami says, enthusiasm is the most important principle. At least that will keep us going until we reach the final stage of love of God. Okay, I think I'll stop here. Are there any comments or questions? You can ask directly. You want this mic? I don't know how far it will go.
Hare Krishna, any questions? We must utilize the time.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the wonderful class. My question is, how do we know what the Lord's plan is for us? For example, as you were giving the example of the flight getting cancelled. So does the Lord indicate that maybe you should not go? Or how do we take that? Or I don't know whether I'm clear with my question, but...
It's a very good question. How do we know what is the plan of the Lord? This is a very important question. I think the key to that lies in the fact that, first of all, okay, let me give you an example. Okay, so I think that will make it more clearer. Okay, so there was an instance where in Guru Maharaj's office, we needed a senior position of someone who will manage the facility of e-care. Guru Maharaj has got this e-care facility. I don't know if you're a disciple of Guru Maharaj, but it doesn't matter. So this is just an example. So then I was talking to Guru Maharaj and I mentioned to her, because we were looking for someone who has to have enough experience, plus who needs to know English and all these things. And it's not easy to find someone like that in a place like Mayapur. Of course, the person could also be doing it remotely, but then you have a whole crew. It's like a how do you call it? It's like a call center. I mean, it's not technically a call center, but we have a crew who actually assists in the whole process. So unless they're physically there, it's going to be difficult. So then I identified someone and I mentioned to Guru Maharaj that this is the person that I have in mind and these are her credentials. What do you think? And Guru Maharaj said, you can try. And normally, when you want to have some serious conversation with someone, you invite them for prasadam. Achyuta Padaranda Prabhu, please don't think that whenever I invite you for prasadam, I have something else in my mind. But I just said, when you have something in mind, definitely you need to invite people for prasadam. But you can also invite generally also. So I invited this Mataji and I told her, and usually, you need to you need to first give the perspective of what you're offering, right? So then I told him that I'm offering you something that you cannot get in millions and trillions of lifetimes. Then I said that it's very rare opportunity. It never comes on its own. People generally struggle, try, but it's not. It's here something is coming on its own. And I said Guru Maharaj has got 80,000 disciples or more than 80,000 disciples, and but here is something which, and everybody has been trying, different people, let me associate with Guru Maharaj, let me serve him. This is everybody's dream. And here you have such a thing coming to you on a platter. If you take up this thing, then Guru Maharaj would be constantly interacting with you, finding out what is going on and all that. All these things I said, you know. So then she said, you know, Prabhu, I mean, I came to Mayapur and I had certain these things and of service, my children's education and this and that and all kinds of things, you know, and this. And this conversation went on for an hour and I knew I'm not getting anywhere with this conversation. So then at one point I told her, Mataji, what I think is that, what's it? You know, silkworm, it weaves a cocoon. Silkworm itself does it. It's not that somebody else is doing it. So like that, I said, I think you've created so many plans in your life that you're trapped by your own plans. You're not even able to see that some great opportunity has come to you, you know, which never happens like this, you know. I mean, whatever. So then, what's it? Again, that conversation went on and all that. Finally, we settled on one thing. I said, okay, at the end of it, I told her, okay, do one thing. You know, go to Lord Chaitanya, go to the Panchatattva and just make one simple prayer. Please tell me what is your plan. You know, although the Guru himself has approved it, you don't need, I mean, that itself is good enough. You know, then Guru approved in the sense that he's open to the idea. The very fact that your own Guru is open to the idea and based on that I'm having a conversation should be enough. But nevertheless, because it was not working, I told her, please go and ask the Panchatattva, what is your plan in life? You know, I said, that's how we are supposed to lead our lives. So then, I mean, I didn't hear from her, but after a few days, she called me back. And then she said, Prabhu, I would like you to talk to so-and-so Mataji, you know, who's a senior and all that. So we can have a discussion on this topic. Then I told her, Mataji, please try to understand one thing. It is not that the office is dependent on your service. Okay? I mean, this is Guru Maharaj's office. So if not you, someone else will come. But you should remember that you have the first opportunity. And if you don't want to take it, if I have to convince someone else, then it makes no sense. You know, this is a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. And if I have to do this, then that's just out of question. And of course, eventually she didn't take it up. But I remember on that day after that conversation, I went to Guru Maharaj. And Guru Maharaj asked, what happened? Then I explained to him the whole thing. And I said how she's trapped by her own plans. You know. And then I told him that actually when I study Prabhupada's life, Prabhupada had a very grand mission that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had given him. But you never see Prabhupada making any strategic plans. Today, the corporates are very famous for all these things, no? Making strategic plans and this and that and all those things. Prabhupada never did anything, zero planning, except the fact that he knows what is needed. You need the Bhagavatam. So he made the Bhagavatam, and I mean, he prepared the Bhagavatam. That he knows what is needed. But he didn't have a strategic plan. I shall go to New York and then I will stay in this place or do this. Nothing. He just took what came. Very simple. He didn't know how to go to America. He knows that he has to go to America. How to go, I don't know. So he went and finally got a free ticket through the India Stream company. He went to New York. Of course, first he went to Butler, Pennsylvania. Then he went to New York, Bowery. He just lived there. That's it. So you never find Prabhupada, although in the Bhagavatam you see how Prabhupada writes. Prabhupada writes, the intelligent class of people will take up to this thing, the leaders of society, the preface. Very clearly to the Bhagavatam he writes. So it looks like that was what he was targeting. But he never made any plans, okay, this is what I'll do, nothing. He just took what the situation was And he took that as Krishna's mercy and he built on that situation. That is how he built the Krishna consciousness movement. So I told Guru Maharaj, this is my understanding of Prabhupada. He's somebody who never planned, but he just went by Krishna's plan. So then Guru Maharaj told me that in my life, I have never planned. He said that. In my life, I've never planned anything. And then he told me, sometimes, I mean, this is in a tone of sarcasm, because this Mataji was bound up with the children's education and whatever idea she had. So then he told me that sometimes parents come to me, and he said, I've noticed that they have so many plans. I want to send my child here, there. And he said, and he put his hand on his head and so much planning, something like that. So the idea is that I'm talking about the basic principle. We are in a certain situation of life. And Krishna presents to us different circumstances and opportunities and things like that. So who is actually doing it? It's ultimately Krishna who's doing it, We may have a desire, like there's a very famous lecture which Prabhupada gave, which is the essence of how he succeeded. That lecture is called, not lecture is called, but in that lecture, you can hear Prabhupada saying that how his Guru Maharaj gave him such a difficult task and all that, And then he says, I was thinking, how shall I do it? How shall I do it? How shall I do it? And he says, that is the secret of his success. How shall I do it? So we have a mission that each one of us have been given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yare deko tare kaho Krishna Upadesh. First of all, we have to practice. There is that's a given. But this is the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yare deko tare kaho. He wants all of us to be instruments in that mission in our own way. In our own way. So he has a plan for us how to be part of this Yare deko tare kaho mission. And we have a God. We are the only people who worship a God who is anxious. Everybody worships a God who is free from anxiety. But our God is an anxious God. What is his anxiety? Anxiety is people in this world are suffering. Of course, the same Lord, I'm not just saying our God means our understanding of God is very clear. So, this is the plan of the Lord for each of us. That Yare deko tare kaho Krishna Upadesh. And Prabhupada has given a specific mandate by his Guru Maharaj. You go to the Western, preach to the Western. So that was his mandate of Yare deko tare kaho. So he could fulfill that. He had a certain potency, he had a certain stature, he could do that. We may not have that potency, we may not have that stature, but the instruction remains. Yare deko tare kaho Krishna Upadesh. So we should at least have that desire. Let me do it in the way that I can do it. And Krishna knows how I can do it. Once we have that clear in our minds, then our life will begin to manifest in very wonderful ways. If we just think of, oh, Krishna consciousness is so nice, let me chant nicely and practice and go back to Godhead. That will be one kind of a life. But that's not what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came for. That is not what Srila Prabhupada came for. While preaching, we say that, okay, make your life successful and go back. But as they become interested, we also tell them, give out this message to whomever you meet. So that is the fundamental principle of we should be open to the fact that our lives is meant for this purpose. That should be very clear. Our life is not like Guru Maharaj wrote a prayer. Jayapataka's life is not his own. It is your life. Like that. Prabhupada gave his life to his Guru Maharaj. So we are supposed to give our lives to Srila Prabhupada. Give our lives to this mission of the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Once that is clear, then what each of us have to individually do, that Krishna manifests. How shall I do it? That thing should be there. How he normally does it, we generally have the association of devotees. Now, quite often, the question comes up when I bring up this topic, association of devotees. Why don't I consult? Why don't you consult? Then the question comes of who to consult. This devotee is like this, that devotee is like this, that. We do have the situation where we may not have some very ideal devotee sometimes. We may have, we may not have. If we have, we are very fortunate. If we don't have also, we don't have to be very very depressed with all those kind of things. Because the idea is that if there are some superiors, even if they are not very ideal, because we are accepting the principle. Like for example, sometimes people think that any superior should be perfect. That is not what Prabhupada taught us. As long as a superior is telling you what is in line with Krishna's teachings, if the concept that you're accepting a superior, Krishna recognizes. So he can instruct to anybody. As long as you're accepting that principle. Like Prabhupada gives the example that when you're fighting a war, you have a commander. The army has a commander. So it is not that the commander is the perfect person, but the commander is the authorized person. The commander may not have the perfect strategy how to fight a war, but he is the authorized person. And as long as he doesn't give you an anti-national command, kill your own soldiers, as long as he doesn't do that, if you follow his command, then the government recognizes you. That, okay, you followed the... So like that, we may not have a perfect commander or perfect devotees who we are associating. Doesn't matter. The point is, as long as they're superiors and as long as what they're saying is in line with what Prabhupada has said, then it works. It works. So, association of devotees is very critical because Prabhupada, in fact, I mean, we are not on that level. Prabhupada, in fact, the reason for him to give up the magazine publication and take up book publication was some army man sitting in a tea shop told him that these magazines people throw away. Why don't you print books? And what did Prabhupada say? My Guru Maharaj instructed me. That was Prabhupada's understanding. That is the level of connection that Prabhupada had with his Guru Maharaj. So, when an ordinary person could instruct. So, what to speak of devotees? We may not like them, we may not get along with them, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the principle is important. Of course, if you consult 100 different devotees, you will get 100 different opinions. That's what I'm saying. At least people whom we can look up to, who are above us, tangibly, whom we can see are better than us. Need not be these days, it has become also easy. Sometimes it need not be even physically present. But we have access, the world is a global village. But as long as we can get help from devotees, Krishna will chart out the course of our lives. Sure. I have time, but I don't know whether you all have time. I have time.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. Thank you for the class. Prabhu, my question is, like, whatever you are saying is basically living by the philosophy. So practically, if we try to engage our activities in a day in service of Krishna, there is this subtle tendency to enjoy. Like, because of our own past desires or, yeah. So still, in fact, during the service also, we don't know that we are sometimes trying to boost our false ego. I mean, we might do that subtly. So maybe because of this, we are not very happy people even after coming to Krishna consciousness and practicing for like, yeah. So that is one. And
should I answer that first?
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think that we should not get into paralysis by analysis. Just do it. If you're enjoying it, enjoy it. What's the problem? Don't think it's my false ego. As long as it is service, just do it. You will get purified. Because if we start, the process of devotional service is not some mental process. It is an act of doing something for the Lord. Just focus on the fact that I need to do something for the Lord. Whether you're enjoying, I'm doing it for my enjoyment or this or that, don't get into that. Like Kapil Dev in the third canto of Bhagavatam, he speaks about the concept of imperceptible liberation. Okay? Which means that when you do an activity for the Lord, if you start intellectualizing it, then it becomes, you get bound by all this thing. But if you just do it, okay, I've been prescribed, I've been given this service, let me just do it, that's it. Let me do it nicely, with the proper attitude, I want to please you, finished. Then don't worry whether you're getting happiness, whether you're doing it because of your happiness, don't worry about all that. Just do it because you've been told to do it, that's all. Whatever experience you're having, let it be. If it is wrong, it will go away. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
In fact, Prabhupada even encouraged people who have a certain conditioning. Like Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita that you're not the body. What did Prabhupada tell sometimes? He will tell, you people are all Americans. If you don't do something wonderful, what is the use of you being Americans? Why did he say that? Why did he say that? He simply knows that it's not that instantly everybody gets free from an American identity. It is a fake identity. But if it can be used in the service of the Lord, do something wonderful, why not? You understand? So we don't have to be so much worried whether it is because of our attachment, not attachment, and all these things. As long as it can be engaged in the service of Krishna, do something nice, do it.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes,
Prabhu. Thank you for the class, Prabhu. A small query. When you were explaining, you told that the closest person to us is the Lord Himself.
Correct.
But when we are doing any activity practically or something, the last person maybe we remember is the Lord.
Correct.
Anything we do. How do we channel or how do we make sure in a practical way or after like by the things we are doing that we make sure we are the first, he's the first person we consult or he's the first person we connect for the things we do. And
It's a very good point. You made a very good point. How do we connect with the Paramatma? So, Paramatma has two features. The internal feature, which is the Lord of the heart. The external feature is manifest as the Guru. So we cannot easily connect with the Paramatma in the heart, but we can easily connect with the instructions of the Guru. So by connecting with the instructions of the Guru, you feel connected with the Lord in the heart. That's the process. Of course, when I say Guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says something very, very important. He says every object, animate or inanimate, is a manifestation of the mercy of my Sri Gurudev. He says this. What does it mean? We are supposed to think that everything and every is meant to help us advance in Krishna consciousness. So when we say Guru, it means the principle of Guru, which means someone who helps us. It also means the person, of course. But the principle of Guru means everyone and everything is meant to help us advance in Krishna consciousness. So that's why we take the association of devotees. And while taking association of devotees, we're taking association of devotees. We don't necessarily think, I'm a disciple of Jayapataka Swami. I should associate only with the disciples of Jayapataka Swami. Or somebody else may not be capable enough to give me a proper instruction. We don't think like this. We take the shelter of anyone who is advanced. And they will help us. It may be statistically that somebody here, most people here may be disciples of Jayapataka Swami. It's fine. I'm saying in principle, we cannot be thinking in terms of thinking in terms of any particular conceptions that we have. We should be open to the fact that everybody is a representation of my spiritual master. Of course, Prabhupada could accept a military man. If we start doing that, then we may end up falling down. Because we can't distinguish between what is an instruction from Krishna and not. Therefore, we associate only with devotees. But they will give us the proper instructions. Is it okay? So, as we develop faith in the instructions of the Guru and the devotees and start following that, then we start building our relationship with the Paramatma in the heart. Paramatma also is helping. It's not that he's not helping. He will create circumstances for you. And sometimes when you are distressed, how does the mind suddenly become peaceful? The Lord is helping you to become peaceful also. It's not that he's not doing anything. No, he's also acting. You may not be able to perceive it, that's all. But it's happening. It's happening.
I think if you have any other questions, we can separately ask Prabhuji. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Sri Sri Gandharvika Giridhari Sriman Mahaprabhu ki.
Jai.
Prabhuji, thank you very much. I think after more than the class, the question and answers, I'm sure everybody must have enjoyed, and now we are feeling a lot more enthusiastic, and the purpose is also very clear. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. There were many such takeaway points. Philosophy is meant for living. Life is meant for preaching. That was the best takeaway point from today. So each and everyone here, if you are still in decided that I'm going to preach. Today is the day we take a decision and say we are going to preach. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Constantly hearing about Krishna, working in accordance to what we hear. That was another wonderful point. Many such points were there, Prabhu. So I think we will start accepting that Krishna is our well-wisher, and we'll start acknowledging the fact that you know, he's got a plan for us, and we shall wait for the plan. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
And one last point which I want to mention, which we were discussing yesterday. Do not think that Krishna will only do things for his advanced devotees. Do not think like that. If we have that conviction that Krishna will take charge of our lives, he will do it. I mean, I've led my life like that. That's been my experience, that in the last 35 years of Krishna consciousness, I've seen that at every phase of life, Krishna has done different things. That is because of the fact that when Prabhupada says something, if we accept it, it works. So it is not only for some exalted devotees. Krishna actually actively intervenes in the lives of all devotees, provided you accept it. Says, okay, Krishna, I want to Karishe Vachanam Tava. From this point onwards, I want to do what you want. And you see your life will be very, very happy and adventurous.
That was even a reassuring fact that he is going to help. Krishna has got to help all of us here. Thank you so much, Prabhu. So shall we all loudly chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra for thanking Prabhuji from the core of our hearts? Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,